Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar, where we sit down and talk with interesting professional guitar players, uncover their stories, and discover what makes them tick. If you love guitar, music, and the backstory of people's lives, stick around. You're in the right place. Hi, this is Craig. Just want to let you know you can now advertise here on Everyone Loves Guitar podcast. For more information, go to everyonelovesguitar.com/advertise. That's everyonelovesguitar.com/advertise. Hey, everybody, this is Craig Garber with Everyone Loves Guitar. We have a special bonus issue today, or bonus edition, a bonus episode, I should call it. We're with Doug Bossi. Doug is a friend of the show and a friend of mine. Doug was interviewed actually back in episode 93 and 94. That was when I cut longer episodes in half. I would encourage you to check that out. He's a great guy and an incredible guitar player if you don't know him, and a really smart business person. And you'll learn a lot about the music industry just talking with him and about himself. And Doug's got a new project that's kind of an old project, a band called Los Lobotomys. This is a band that existed a long time ago.
Yeah, the Los Lobotomys.
Well, take it away, man. How did the new Los Lobotomys 3.0, how did this come to be, and give some history of the band?
Sure. Well, I've been in LA for about 20 plus years, and I'm a fan of this band. I used to come see this band a lot. They would play at all the rock clubs around town, like Palomino's. They'd play at Musicians Institute and do gigs, and the entire band was just stunning. You know, I saw them in what would be called the V2 lineup, which was a four-piece band with Steve Lukather, who's just like a force of nature on the guitar. He's like a hurricane. And then, equally as powerful was David Garfield on the keys, which is just amazing. And then John Pena, just, wow, what a great bass player. Amazing. And then I saw him with Simon Phillips. So that was a four-piece V2, but they started in the 80s at the Baked Potato, famous jazz club here in North Hollywood that's still going strong. Started by Don Randy, one of the founding members of the
Wrecking Crew, right?
Yeah, Wrecking Crew. Great club. Anyway, so everybody would sit in with this band. It was kind of like a group, it was a sort of a way for them. The V1 lineup had Jeff Carlisi. I mean, so it was like a lot of, and Lenny Castro. So it was the Toto guys really combining with other players to sort of go, hey, let's do this, let's play anything we want. Nobody's going to tell us what to play. And they would just have everybody sit in. And that was the V1 lineup in the 80s. And then sadly, Jeff Carlisi passed away. And they carried on as a V2, as a four-piece with Simon Phillips. So the first record was done way back in the day with Jeff. And it was Lenny that came up with the name of the band, which is a hilarious name.
It is.
But I used to love seeing the band. I was a huge fan, all of us long-haired guys in the audience. No girls, It was like watching these guys just shred every instrument to death. And so anyway, so the band carried on. Steve Lukather apparently was going to do a second solo record, and that became Candyman, a.k.a. Los Lobotomys. So you'll see that released out in the wild as both a solo record and Los Lobotomys versions. But the band went on for another 10 years, and then, of course, Lukather and Toto and everybody's been really busy, and the band was sort of defunct for a while, and I got a call from David Garfield to say, hey, would you be interested in joining Los Lobotomys? And I thought, well, yeah, great. And it was going to be two guitar players to fill the shoes of one. And the day that we went to rehearsal, the other guitar player, a great guitar player, James Hara, I think his wife had a baby or something. He couldn't make it. It was a scheduling conflict. And I showed up. We did the rehearsal, and they said, hey, great. Let's just do it with one. We started doing some gigs around town. But, I can't play like Steve Lukather. I just not that sort of player. So I was like, hey, guys, I really don't want to be in a cover band of what the band was. I can't do that. Why don't we do a new record? And that became a literally 8-year project to write this new V3 record. So that's kind of a long, short story of what the band was and how I sort of fell into the chair. And as we started writing the record, because the band was always sort of this group, it was always a bigger group. It was sort of a hang with different people that were available would come play or record. So they asked me who would I want to play on the record. And I reached out to more people than I was able to get on the recording. But, we only have 8 songs on there, but it's almost 53 minutes long. So there's a lot of music on here. And it was fun kind of writing music in different styles. So there's, everything from Latin to blues to metal to, it definitely is a very guitar heavy record.
Sure.
As the band was, But yeah, that's the long and short of how 3.0 sort of came to be and how I sort of fell into it.
Hey man, and to your credit, they asked you to come in the band. That's just a testament to your talent. Yeah, man. I mean,
so many great guitar players in LA. So I was really surprised,
Yeah, but you also have a skill set that you can do a lot besides just play guitar. You can produce, you can mix. You wrote almost all the songs or co-wrote all these songs, So I think that, they were looking for more than just a great guitar player. You had to be a great guitar player plus. So, to your credit, you filled those slot.
Yeah, I always like writing, and it was really fun. Like my Echo Circle solo stuff is more song oriented. I do very little playing. So this is actually something that I actually get to be featured on. And, with some of my favorite guitar players on the planet, I'm still kind of pinching myself like, really, is this happening?
And anybody listening, if you haven't heard Echo Circle, go check it out. Doug's got it's a fantastic album. It's on YouTube. It's on all the places where you could, it's fantastic. It's Doug Bossi and Echo Circle. Doug, talk about the songs on the record, maybe.
Yeah. So there's 8 songs. The first song, I'll kind of talk through them in order and who's playing on these. So we can kind of talk about the guests as well. The first song is called The Creature, and that is a nickname that people used to give David Garfield. In fact, it's been shortened to Creechy. So that's why he has Creechy Records and people call him Creechy. So I said, David, I want to write something that kind of honors you. And at the end of the song, it's really cool. He does this amazing upright, like jazz piano solo, but it's a rock song. And we were able to get Randy Brecker and Randy's wife, Ada, on sax as far as the guests on that. But that's pretty much, that first song is all of us soloing. So the very first song, even though it has Randy and Ada, it's the core band.
Yeah.
After that first song, it sort of migrates off into a lot of guests. There's some songs, as I'll explain, I don't even play any solos on. I'm a rhythm guy, which is kind of cool. To me, it's like the spirit of the band. And the hope is when we play live, featuring these songs, we'll be able to get anybody that's played on it or just friends to come up and sit in. So it's a bigger thing than a 4-piece, So the next song is Nice and Greasy. It's dedicated to the late great Stevie Ray Vaughan. And it's, when you hear it, it's basically, the riff of it is something that's a train thing that Stevie would do. And we were really fortunate enough to reach out to Robben Ford and Joe Bonamassa, and they played on the track. And just, I can't tell you how cool that was. Robben played his tracks. I think he was in Ventura, California at the time. I think he's over in Nashville now. But
yeah,
he recorded his part separate. But Joe came to the studio here. We recorded most of the album here at my studio and some of it at John Pena's studio, the bass player. And then a lot of the other overdubs were done just here, there, and everywhere. So that's the Nice and Greasy song. Shangri-La is dedicated to Allan Holdsworth. And sadly, we were trying to get Allan to play on this. Yeah, so it's dedicated to Allan, and I tried to kind of honor Allan on the guitar tones and stuff of this, but we've got Eric Marienthal on sax from the great Shakria band, Walt Fowler, great trumpet player on that one. Next song is Drop B, crazy low tuning Mr. Lobotomy. And that's a cool one. That's probably one of my favorites because it's a really cool, like really heavy, fast metal jazz thing. Wait till you hear it. But the solos in order are crazy. It's Guthrie Govan, followed by Scott Henderson, followed by Tim Miller, and then I got to.
And then you got
to go after that. Yeah, it's crazy. So, but wait till you hear the solos on this. And two of the 4 solos, Guthrie and Tim, they're playing through the fractal. There's a lot of controversy in the guitar world, like, no, it's got to be tubes and speakers, and no, the new modeling stuff's better or whatever. But when you hear, Scott and I are playing through traditional amps and mics and stuff, but man, those fractals sound amazing. So that's Mr. Lobotomy. Chad plays an amazing solo on that too. Chad Wackerman, one of my favorite drummers. And then after Chad gets done, we do this whole wire choir thing, which is really cool, like Queen. And then the next song is called 12th and Never. one of the songs that actually I don't play a solo on. It's actually the great Lyle Workman, who's somebody, I don't think you've interviewed Lyle yet, have you?
No, man, I want to get him on the show, though, for sure.
Oh, he's amazing. I mean, his solo records, if anybody wants to check out Lyle Workman's guitar work, amazing. And he's also a great composer, does a lot of big movies.
Incredible composer, man. He did Superbad. That's like the greatest soundtrack ever.
Yeah, he's done so many, So we've got Brandon Fields on sax on this track, Walt Fowler again on trumpet. Brandon, just amazing. And also the great Chris Trujillo joins Lenny Castro on percussion. I think Chris plays timbales on it.
Where did he play, Chris? Because I know his name from somewhere.
Yeah, gosh, Chris has played just all over. He's definitely, there's a couple like First Call, I would say, percussionists in town, and Chris is definitely one of those guys. He's just amazing. Great guy too. And he plays when Lenny's been out in the past. It's actually Chris joining us live. So
cool.
He's one of the blood brothers of the band, so to speak. Next song is Brecker Steps. There's a lot of dedications here because sadly we've got so many people, And Brecker Steps was dedicated to Michael Brecker, of course, written by David Garfield, who, by the way, David's been putting out some amazing out of the box, just a series of CDs that has pretty much everybody in LA, just incredible music he's putting out too on his own. But I encourage everybody to go check that out, David Garfield. He wrote the song dedicated to Michael Brecker. It's really cool. It's got sort of the old Brecker Brothers vibe meets Chick Corea meets Romantic Warrior kind of. It's really interesting. But he's actually got Randy Brecker playing, and it's a beautiful tribute because he's playing for his brother. And
has he written? Is this the first song he's written? Sorry, I apologize for cutting you off. Is this the first song that he's written for his brother?
No, I don't think. Now, he didn't write it. David wrote it.
It's true. Yeah, David.
Yeah, but I'm sure there's been a lot of tributes that people have asked, in the play. So, yeah. Let me see. Just making sure I'm not missing any songs. So, Brecker Steps. There's another song in E.
That's a great name.
Which is a hilarious name, yeah. Let me just double check. Let me make sure I'm not missing any tracks here. But yeah, another song in E is Frank Gambale. And again, I play rhythm on it, and Frank is just featured really just amazing. And Frank, funny story, when I was 17, I came out to go to GIT. In between my junior and senior year of high school, my mom actually let me drive cross country and go to GIT. And I was blown away at the summer session. Frank Gambale was a student, although he was never a student. He was already amazing, I watched him for the first time sitting with Robben Ford live on stage, which is amazing.
Wow.
Incredible. I wish maybe somebody's got a video of it. And then Scott Henderson was a teacher, so he was my instructor, and then I'm sitting with Gambale. So for me, full circle to now, we're all on the same record. Really, to me, it's just very, very cool. And then we did another song called Conversaciones, and Conversaciones, which is basically a conversation piece, a very Latin piece. It starts off with the sounds of the beach because it's dedicated to Paco de Lucia. I remember seeing Paco. I grew up in Spain hearing flamenco, so I was already a fan. But I remember seeing Al Di Meola, John McLaughlin, and Paco back in the day when they did the trio. And I believe the story is that Paco was with his kids on the beach and he had a heart attack and died on the beach.
Oh,
so
gosh.
We actually start the song with this beach and then a quartet, like a violin, viola, cello quartet with this nylon string. And then it goes into this conversation between David and I, and then it picks up the pace and gets into this bigger piece, and then it ends with piano and upright bass, or fretless bass, actually. So that's a really pretty piece. But yeah, it's I think that's all the song. I think I've covered them all. But yeah, it's going to be a pretty cool. I think a lot of people are going to enjoy all the guests that are on the record and the variety of music. The Los Lobotomys always could kind of go from A to Z stylistically. The only thing they never did was country, but they could have killed that too. They just weren't doing that, So really, the jazz, Latin, and rock thing was, and the blues was their their strong points, you know.
My favorite track is actually Conversaciones, and I really like that. Everything was so well put together. But I had just a couple of questions. There's I guess David Garfield on there. He's playing this. It's like a bossa nova sort of melody, and man, I had this record, a Stan Getz record called Captain Marvel. Have you ever heard that?
Stan Getz is awesome. And I do remember Captain Marvel. But is there a song out there?
Yeah, there was a song on there, and I just pulled it up before this interview, and of course I spaced out. There was a song on there, and it was a Latin song. I'm going to just look this up now so people could listen to it. It was and Chick Corea was on there, and what David Garfield it was called La Fiesta, a real long. It was an opening track. It was 8.5 minutes long, and I haven't heard this record in probably 10 years, and it reminded me so much of that. It took me really. It's a beautiful. The melodies on there that he's playing are great, and what I also thought was cool is you're doing like these fills in the back, and it's almost like. I want to say classical, but like classical contrapuntal, but it's not classical. Like, it's really melodic stuff.
Oh, thanks.
It was,
that was fun. I'm actually, the nylon string on that song is the very first guitar I learned on. It's a 1968.
Oh, wow.
Japanese. My mom bought it when we lived in Japan when I was a kid to learn Peter, Paul and Mary songs. And, it still sounds amazing. You could, on that track, you can hear it throughout the track. But, that was fun to kind of play in the style of, I can never do what Paco does. I mean, that's a lifelong study, and even people that do it can't even get close to Paco. But yeah, so I just really love playing nylon. And so that was a really cool, tribute. So there's really four songs that tribute musicians. We got Stevie Ray Vaughan, Paco, we've got Michael Brecker, and then Allan Holdsworth, which I was a big fan.
Let me ask you one question about that. What that song's got a great groove too. I mean, really, that great pocket there. What electric were you playing there, and like what effects were on that? Because
cool. Yeah, we can.
If you remember,
spent some time going through it. I documented everything because I like to change things up instead of playing the same guitar and amp the whole way through. We had the luxury over so many years to kind of experiment. So on that one, I play a lot this 25th anniversary Fender Strat, and it's got this push-pull or this push button in the volume control that changes the first pickup to a humbucker. So every now and then I'd pop that in for the humbucking things, and then for the clean sort of stuff like that part you were talking about, that's just a standard Strat, And then the amp, I believe, on that one was the red plates. So
okay.
Big fan of those amps. I've got tons of amps. I played through the, looking at it now, the Rivera Venus recording was really cool for the really heavy, dark metal stuff. That thing sounded killer. And then I actually own the head that Guthrie Govan played at Alva's. He did a concert a couple of years ago, and I called Alva's. I go, "What's that head he's playing through?" And they go, "We're selling it." I go, "I'll take it." And that's a British amp called a Victory. And that's a Victory Earl, EARL amp. And that's a pretty cool amp. And then I had asked, one of my favorite players is Tim Pierce. And I asked, he's got so many amps. And I said, "Hey, what's your Desert Island amp?" And he said, "Oh, man, you divided by 13 RSA 23. So I bought one of those heads. And a lot of times the clean stuff or the additional added stuff is that amp. It just takes any pedal really well. And, the bluesy stuff, like when you hear the Stevie Ray Vaughan thing, I took 2 Fender Blues Juniors Deluxes and mic'd them from the front and back and tried to get that Stevie Ray sound, cranking the amps up, with very little, just like one pedal. I think it was OCD full tone.
Just overdrive.
Yeah, it's the OCD full tone pedal. Somebody was telling me that's the most popular gain pedal sold.
I heard the same thing.
Yeah, actually. Jamie Kahn was telling me that. Great player here in LA. And I said, "Hey, Jamie, you've heard this?" He goes, "Yeah, apparently that's the most popular gain pedal. I've been using it in a lot of different stuff. It always sounds good.
Very cool.
Yeah, man.
Was there anybody that you wanted to get on the record that you just couldn't get?
Yeah. Get ready to get a hat and drop. So you come and drop some names. So yeah, here's the list of guys I would have loved to get on. There's many, many more. But John McLaughlin, we actually asked John to play on it because the blues song, as you'll hear, goes from blues to like this Mahavishnu section. And we thought, wouldn't it be great to get John on the Mahavishnu section? And John was really busy with Chick and Korea doing something, and Chick Corea, and he was also doing he was prepping for his last solo tour. So unfortunately, couldn't get John. Eddie Van Halen, I would have loved, he's the reason I play guitar. Loved to have gotten him. Of course, Allan Holdsworth was one that we wanted to get on. He had talked about it. But
how do you reach out? Sorry, to Eddie. Like you contact his people or something like that, or do you actually?
Well, David Garfield had done some work with Eddie in the past, and
Gotcha.
Eddie had come in and sit in. Like when Los Lobotomys was playing early on, like I think in the '90s, they would have like Slash would come and sit in. I think Eddie came down and hung out. They would have like all the rock guys hanging out because it was really a cool hang. But I just didn't know Eddie personally. I met him once, but Eddie would have been awesome. Jeff Beck is another fantastic guitar player that could play anything. He's probably one of the best on the planet.
Yes.
Pat Metheny, Eric Johnson, Steve Morse. I reached out to Frank Marino, but it was a interesting scheduling thing. But I really wanted Frank. He was a big influence for me. His live '78 Frank Marino Mahogany Rush live record was just still to this day stunning. I just recently met and big fan of Sean Tubbs. I mean, I think his playing is really just stellar. He's got his own thing. It's really hard in the world of guitar to sort of stand out. You'll hear even on the Lobotomys stuff, I can parrot, other players in my way. But, it's very cool. Like Tim Miller has his own thing. He's like one of my favorite guitar players. And, people kind of sometimes compare him to Holdsworth, but to me, he's like Bill Evans with a little bit of Metheny, but his sound is different than anybody. He's obviously a little nod, but he's got his own little Eric Johnson. He's got his own thing. So Alan Hines, another guy, big fan of Alan. Mike Landau. Mike is one of the best guitar players also on the planet. He's crazy good. And lastly, Neil Sean would be a guy that I would, I've been listening to a lot of Neil again. He did these fusion records kind of with Jan Hammer back in the 80s. I loved all his playing, and he's just like nobody plays like Neil Sean, so yeah, and then I could go on and on, but there's a lot of guitar players and a lot of other musicians, so it's a very guitar heavy record, which is going to be fun for everybody who's guitar.
Oh yeah.
Fans, yeah.
Is your solo CD, Echo Circle was much more, you said it before, vocal oriented, and you don't really solo that much, although whatever it is, that was you're doing some great soloing in there, but it's not like this. Was this a nice change of pace to sort of lay in the, I wouldn't say you're laying in the back, but to crank it up and get out there in front and solo?
Yeah, it definitely is. I got to really shed to even play these tracks live. It's just like really amazing. But yeah, I really enjoyed your Ian Moore interview. When I lived in Austin, I was a big fan of Ian. We all wanted to be Ian Moore. And Ian said something interesting in your interview. He said, yeah, I tell younger players to brand themselves consistently. And I thought that was really cool the way he put that. And so, with Echo Circle, I'm a really big fan of John Mayer and the way he puts out songs that are great and kind of plays a little bit, but he can live. He really stretches out and plays live. And I've never played out with the Echo Circle stuff yet, but my plan is to do that. But this Los Lobotomys is, he can play too, kind of thing,
Are you going to play out is Los Lobotomys going to be playing out?
Yeah, our goal is to get, if we're at wherever we're playing, whether it be the NAMM show or here or there, or wherever we wind up playing, is to get some of the guests to come join us, because it's really set up once you hear the whole record, it's really set up to be this jam. There's a song form, but it's, I'm definitely not going to be able to play a solo like Tim Miller or Guthrie Govan or Scott Henderson. You know what I mean? So the goal is to get guys and to come sit in and definitely to go out and start playing and promoting this for sure.
Very cool, man. Where did you record this?
I've got a studio here in LA. I call it the Beautiful Noise Studios. And we also started the record at John Pena's house. We got a couple tracks done there, but most of it was done here as far as the core recording was done. And, Chad Wackerman, I think he just came in and kind of charted it out and played it maybe once, It was like pretty nuts.
It's crazy.
But then we did a lot of the overdubs here. I took my time with guitars. David did some stuff at his house on keys. John at his house on bass, but most of it was done. The core of it was done here. And then I want to mention something about Lenny Castro on percussion, who's been an integral part of the band since the beginning and actually named the band. He was out on tour when all four of us did the basic tracks. So he recorded his stuff at his home studio. But when he sent the tracks over later, it was pretty amazing what his sound did to the songs. It's really like a big part of the sound of the Lobotomys. So I just want to throw a shout out to Lenny, and he just put out a solo record as well. So check that out.
Very cool, man. And when is this going to come out, and how can people pre-order? And first of all, let me just tell everybody, I listened to the album. It's freaking great. I mean, it's really good. And it's I know it's a guitar record, but it's not a guitar record in the sense that it's a great songs. If it's not, cool. The songs are really good. And so if you want to listen to the guitar part and just groove on that, there's plenty there. But it's great music, which I thought was really cool. And I thought I was really surprised. Almost all of these songs were all co-written with the exception, I think, of the tribute to Michael Brecker Steps. Everything is co-written by, you and someone else, or you and two or three other guys. So that's really
it was a real
cool
group effort, in that way.
Well, it sounds like that because you don't sound like a band. Well, I guess you have been together for 8 years, right? Sort of.
Yeah, right. In shadows.
Yeah, but it sounds great. So I would encourage everybody to order this. And I think there's two different levels you can get. You can get the signed CD with every single one of these guys' autograph on it for only $25. And if you don't want anybody's signature, you can get it for $15, and it's worth every penny. And you can go to Los Lobotomys, LOSLOBOTOMYS.com. And
it's going to be a pre-order. And basically the way we're doing it is we're going to release it this fall, but we want to have pre-orders done first. With the music business, the way it is now, as soon as you release anything, everybody copies it, throws it up on YouTube, and then it's a free-for-all. So we're trying to basically get pre-orders done. And once the pre-order's done, then we're going to basically release it digitally. So people can download it at that point. But we're trying to get people to buy it first as a hard copy because I think for me, it just sounds great, and we're just wrapping up the mastering and mixing right now. So we'll be on target for this thing, which would be great.
Awesome. And what's the date it's coming out again?
We're just saying this fall. We were trying to target. As you can see from the album cover, it's a skull.
Yeah.
And the skull's been like an iconic image for the band throughout the years. The original skull was drawn by Jeff Carlisi, who was just a great artist.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So on that first CD. But we're trying to get it out for Halloween because of the skull, right? So if we can target Halloween, great. If not, we'll have it in the November month to finish some pre-orders. It depends on how that all goes. But
people can pre-order it now. Correct. Once they hear
Absolutely,
this. Okay, great. So
they can go right now and pre-order it. There's a link on our site. You'll see a banner with pictures, and right below that, pre-order now. Click on that. You can PayPal or credit card and order one or multiples for your friends.
Or multiples for your friends. Yes. Let me give you the link again. It's Los Lobotomys, LOSLOBOTOMYS. Doug, any final words of wisdom, man?
Hey, I just got to thank you, and I just have to say that as a fan of what you're doing. Guitar Player was my Bible growing up, the magazine, but the way you interview musicians and people is a really deep thing. And I've learned so much from players that I'm a big fan of that I thought I knew a lot about, even friends, even my ex-bandmate, George, who Bernhardt, I didn't know all that stuff. So I have to really just say hats off to what you're doing, and I hope you keep doing it for a long time. And thank you again for your time today. This is great to be able to share the record in advance and just talk about it a little bit. It's really great.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. It was really kind of you. I'm always awful taking compliments. I'm like shrieking here. I don't even know what to say, but thanks very much. I really appreciate it. And man, thank you for all your support. You've always been real good about supporting me in the show. So thanks, man. Everybody, please go order the pre-order the new Los Lobotomys record. It's a great record. It's 8 very powerful cuts. If you play guitar, man, this is it. It doesn't get any finer than this. It's at Los Lobotomys, LOSLOBOTOMYS.com, and do it now. Everybody, I want to thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this, share it with your friends on social media. We certainly appreciate your support and help. Thanks again to Doug Bossi for being a friend of the show, friend of mine, and for spending this time with us and for putting out a great record. I appreciate all the effort you put into that. And make sure you go to the homepage of Everyone Loves Guitar, sign up to get on our newsletter list. And most important, as I always say, remember that happiness is a choice, so choose wisely. Be nice, go play your guitar, and have fun. Until next time, peace and love, y'all. I'm out. We hope you enjoyed this show. If you did, subscribe to the Everyone Loves Guitar podcast, and you can do this online at everyonelovesguitar.com or on iTunes. And if you like the show, please leave us a 5-star positive review. The more 5-star reviews we get, the higher our show ranks, and higher rankings mean we get to continue speaking with cool, interesting guests on our show. We'll see you on the next episode, and until then, keep playing your guitar and have fun making music.